the street lights lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away.
Hey guys, welcome in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you like the new intro. It is different. It's a lot different than our old intro. I feel like our old intro was putting people to sleep, maybe. I don't know. You guys let me know. It's a lot different. It's upbeat. It's funky. But I was dancing along with it. I was tapping my foot. So and it looks like I can use that song, thank goodness, because the other song on the other channel, I couldn't use that one. So we got to pick a different one for over there, but we'll get that all figured out. If you're new to the channel, hello, my name's Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. You can call me either or. My name is up there. I guess I don't have the Tanya part. I could probably change that. Wonder why. Probably because I was under a different one. But there you go. There's my name. But how's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully you guys are having a great start to your week. What is it? Tuesday? Tuesday. Yep, 21st of January. We are almost through the first month of the year already. I can't believe it. This year is going to go by so fast. I already know. October is going to come before I know it because I'm turning the big 40 this year. So I think this year is going to go by quick for me. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Mandy. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Suze. Let me know if you guys think that this year is going fast. I feel like it has been. Hey, Mary Beth. Sorry that I scared you. I saw your comment. We got DM in here. We had Dawn. I don't know if I said, I think I said hi to Dawn. Hi, TitaniumBuilt. You know, she's here. There's Ladybug. How you doing, Ladybug? Hey, SSD. 7 inches of snow. Where are you from? You don't get snow? Oh, you and your granddaughter played and made snow angels. Oh, those are the best memories. That's what she's going to remember. She'll remember that, you know? Pictures and videos. Oh, good. What? It was 1890s last time it snowed? Wow. That's crazy. Southeast Texas. Wow. You guys got a lot of snow. We didn't get any fresh snow. We already had like 7 inches or something crazy already over here in Ohio. I think the sun was kind of getting it down, so I think it's down to about 5, maybe 5 inches now, but it's all ice. So it was hard, and then it turned into like a big sheet of ice. So taking the dogs out has been like crazy. Hey, Pancakes. Hey, Ashley. Hey, Lakers girl. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Naomi, Mia. Changed her name. Hey, PKC. I think I saw that the other day, and I was like, that's Naomi, because you had your old picture. And so I knew it was you. I was like, wait a minute. How's everybody doing? Okay. We have things to talk about tonight. Hey, Kat K. Hey, Lenora. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Aries. Did you get snow, Aries? Did you guys get a lot of snow? Just cold temperatures up there? I was thinking of you. I was thinking if you got some. Over a foot of snow, Reba? Wow. Do you guys get snow like that? Hey, Yvonne. Man, you all got some snow. I hope we don't get the snow. I hate snow. Your snow is drunk in my yard. It probably is. It should probably be over here, but we didn't get any. That's one thing about Ohio. Like I always am like, I hate Ohio, blah, blah, blah. But like we do have 4 seasons, we really do. I mean, sometimes they're all in one day. Sometimes they're all in less than a day. Once in a lifetime event, see, and you're there to see it. New York only got 4 inches. Yeah, the -4. Let me tell you what it is here. It's really cold. I went out earlier because I had to go to the store. That's why I didn't change out my prosthetic yet. And I had like this, like my scarf wrapped around me. I mean, the only thing that was showing was like my little eyes. I was like, I'm gonna make sure I'm warm out there. I had like 3 layers on, like shirts, 2 pairs of pants. Your girl don't mess around anymore. She used to. I remember being like 19, 20, or like maybe younger than that, like 18, 19. And my mom would be like, grab a jacket. And I'd be like, I'm fine. It'll ruin the outfit. And then I'd be freezing. It's -1 here. Ugh. Yes, I did my gift today for the Elfster. So I think I sent Margot a message. And welcome in, Ange. Yeah, we'll be doing it here in a little bit. Hey, Julianne. I'm a teacher and was off school for a cold day, -6 in Chicago. Wow. We have those here. We have those here. I live in a really small, like, town, and it was like they would back roads. I couldn't think of the word. And so the buses couldn't get, like, if there was snow, even just a little bit, the buses couldn't get on the back roads. And then they started doing it if it was too cold. They were like, letting us off of school. And I was like, well, shoot. Yeah. But back then you had to listen to the radio to see if your school was closed. They didn't call you. They call you, they text you, they send you an email now. They send you like a, carrier pigeon. Nowadays, they let you know, but they didn't let us know. I remember me and my best friend listening to 94.3. The bus broke down. Oh, wow. Hey, Elsa, did you have to go get them? It's so cold, Well, Mary Beth, no. So, okay, it's supposed to be like a secret thing, but you can kind of see, like, if you unhide the name, you can see who you got on the Elfster. So what happened was somebody wanted to, they decided they didn't want to do it, and they had Margot. Well, Margot had me. So I had already known because I could see who had who. And so I was like, okay, this actually works out perfect. Because I had someone that had me that wasn't going to participate. So then we became together. Me and Margot did. So that way everybody, there should be an even number. Another bus came. Oh, wow. Man, I don't know what they would have done at our school. They'd have been like, you better start walking. No, they wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have done that. But if you do decide tonight that you want to become a member of our channel, I will have the link in the chat. We would love to have you become a member. We are, we're accepting new memberships. We're accepting them. Like, no, we wouldn't accept you. But we did do a fundraiser. It was very last minute last night, and I forgot to tell you guys at the end of the fundraiser, like, how it did and all that stuff. So I do have some numbers written down. So actually I have it right here in front of me too. So the fundraiser that last night, let's see, raised $39.55 for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And altogether, we just started doing this a few months ago, I'd say, maybe 4 months ago, 5 months ago. We did our first one. So we have altogether raised for the missing and exploited children $615.39. I thought that was amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And we got $95 for Samaritan's Purse. They were the agency that's out helping, the hurricane victims down in Tennessee and North Carolina. So we donated $95 to them. So I thought that was pretty cool. All in all, not too shabby for, just a few of us. I like that. Isn't that cool? Yeah. It takes like 2 seconds to add a fundraiser. I don't know. I should just add them every time, but to add like a fundraiser to your live, it's free to do for the creator. I mean, and we don't mess with the money. Like it just goes straight to the place that we're donating to, which is awesome because I don't like money. I don't like touching money. I used to, when I worked at a boutique, I hated it. I hated it so much. I'm good with money and like counting it and everything. It's just sometimes I don't know. I just, with like large sums, I just get like paranoid. And we would have large sums, because people paid in cash. I don't know why. Hey, Princess. Hey, Doodlebug. Mandy's back. Let me see. I'm going to pull some stuff up. Let's see here. I think this is what I want to share, but okay. Yeah, like wasn't sharing it. So, okay. What we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk about Brian Kohberger. Oh, Kohberger's got a court hearing coming up. They actually had a closed hearing today, and then they're going to have another hearing on the 24th and 25th, I believe, or 23rd and 24th. And we are seeing tonight if they're going to do open court. They said before that they were going to have it all closed, and the defense was like, no, we want this stuff to be open. We want people to know. So what they're trying to do is, have the hearing be open. Well, they are going to open a part of it, a section of it. So I cannot find for the life of me the Ada County courthouse on YouTube. It was on my For You page today, or like probably because I think I've subscribed, but I just can't find them. So if anybody has the link for the Ada County courthouse, just let me know, and maybe you can send it to my email. That would be great. Because I was looking everywhere for it. And thank you, Mary Beth, for gifting out 5 memberships. That's so very kind. Make sure you tell her thank you. Thank you so much. That's very nice of you, Mary Beth. So I figured we'll start with this document, and then by the time that I will find the Ada County courthouse website by the time we need it. I believe. Let me see. I think the hearing is on Thursday at 11 a.m., but I'm not for sure. And that will be what is that? Pacific time? So what that's called? I don't know. It's 4 hours ahead. 4 hours behind. No, 3 hours now because they changed courthouses. Sorry. So I wonder if it's, I can't remember if it's 3 or 2 hours behind now. I'll have to find that out. Because when they switch courthouses, they switched that. And we haven't watched, but like maybe a couple. So we'll watch, but we're going to watch this one coming up. We'll watch this one. They wanted to open up a lot of the things, but the judge isn't opening up most of them. He's kind of he's putting his foot down. I like this judge. This judge is my kind of guy. He's like, he'll give a little, but he makes sure that like not to step on his toes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't take more than what I'm giving you. Like I'm giving you this. So I don't know. Is it 3 hours? Thank you. Mountain time. Yes. Boise's mountain time. I couldn't remember because I know that Idaho is 4 hours, I believe. So the hearing, and thank you, Mary Beth, for gifting another membership. Sunshine got it. That's so sweet. So it says here for the order governing proceedings for January 23rd and 24th. This came out, I believe, today. I've actually pulled it up. So yeah, it came out today on the 21st. It says The hearing set for the 23rd and the 24th of 2025 in this matter will proceed as follows. Starting at 9 a.m. on January 23rd, 2025, the court will take up testimony related to the defendant's motion to suppress the genetic information, the IgG, and defendant's motion for Frank's hearing insofar as it regards to the IgG investigation. As indicated in the court's oral ruling, this portion of the hearing will be closed/sealed. Following the close of this evidence, the court will take up the following matters, which will be live streamed on a feed available to the public. Subject to the court's determination to close any portion of the hearing by turning off the live stream and feed as necessary. So, if something happens, they cut the feed. But what they're going to give us is testimony related to the defendant's remaining motion to suppress, arguments on defendant's motion to suppress, and arguments on the defendant's motion to compel. So we will see what happens. I mean, we'll be streaming it. There's Judge Hippler, he just has his initials. I don't see what the footnote was, but the courtroom itself will not be open to the public because of the need to revert to sealed proceedings on and off throughout the hearing. Yeah, in case they need to cut the feed. They're like, cut the feed. Thank you, Mary Beth, for giving another membership. Look at that. Everyone's going to be green tonight. Which button? Wizard Walt? I can get some. I can get some buttons. Have you heard Betty's buttons? Oh my gosh. They sound like they're from like the Dollar Tree. She always hits them and like, I'll stick with the flags. But yeah, I need some buttons. That's funny. Okay, so I actually found this video earlier that's going to explain kind of what's going on in the court proceedings. I guess they break down all the documents every time that they come out with some, and this is WNEP News. And I'll put I'm gonna put the link for the membership in the chat, and then I'm gonna put their link in the chat. Oh yeah, she got that from Dollar Tree when she picked up that green shower curtain. Or tablecloth, shower curtain. I can't either. She's something else. She's something else. She gives me a headache. I can't watch her unless I'm reviewing her with you guys. Like the other day, I watched her for like a good maybe 3 to 5 minutes when I was on my walking pad, and then that's when I came live because I was just like, oh my gosh, what did she just say? I mean, she was saying all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Nope, not watching her. Yeah, I know. I don't know how she has as many subscribers as she does. I really don't know. I don't know how she has that many people like listening to her. Just give me $1. That's what she likes to say. Just $1. Okay, so we'll go ahead and play this. It is from WNEP News, channel 16, it looks like, and ABC. We'll like their video. That's nice of us.
Welcome to another episode of Case of Interest Kohberger. I'm Newswatch 16 Stacey Lang. This is our exclusive web series where we go through the University of Idaho murder case document by document and give you updates as they progress in Idaho courts from
I think we need to get her better in a mic.
Here in Pennsylvania, where of course, the defendant, Brian Kohberger, is from. He's a Monroe County native. That is our interest in this University of Idaho case. The year is 2025. This is our first episode of 2025, which means Kohberger was arrested, believe it or not, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. This is also, of course, the year that we are expecting the case to go to trial. The trial set for late summer in Boise, Idaho. A change of venue was decided over this past summer, 2024. So we are anticipating that summer trial. We're looking ahead to it, and it's a busy week in Idaho courts in preparation for this case. Kohberger, his defense team, and the prosecution are all in a virtual hearing with the judge right now on January 21st, discussing some of the legalities of a hearing that's going to be held later on in the week, and we'll get into all of that. when we're talking here, but you can also expect us to bring you updates probably by Friday once all of these hearings are wrapped up. The issue on the table is suppression of evidence. This is a common tactic from the defense to try and suppress whatever evidence they think might be damaging or perhaps, and this is what is being alleged here, collected improperly by investigators. So that hearing on the 23rd, on Thursday, is set to be a public hearing to discuss what evidence is allowed to be suppressed or not in Kohberger's favor. Right now, the hearing is closed to the public because there is discussion over whether or not some data collected in this case, some evidence collected in this case should be released to the public or not. So
the IGG.
That's why it's being discussed behind closed doors, actually virtually, right now on Tuesday, the 21st.
To be a fly on that wall, you know?
I have the order now, calling that hearing up right now. Again, January 21st in Idaho. They're discussing this IGG DNA. That's a term we're going to use a lot. IGG stands for Investigative Genetic Genealogy. We've talked a lot about it here on Case of Interest. There's been a lot of reporting about how important the genetic genealogy in this case was. Of course, there was DNA left at the crime scene on a knife sheath that was left behind. And prosecutors say that DNA then matched Kohberger's father's DNA that was collected in Monroe County. And that brings us to where we are today. And what Kohberger's defense team is asking is for a lot of that science to be released to the public. A lot of it's under seal right now. Let's take a look at the motion that was filed. I want to say the very beginning of January by Kohberger's defense team asking for this IGG DNA data to be released. There's a lot that you can read through. We'll include the link in the description of this video, but it kind of is summed up in the conclusion here that says Mr. Kohberger has a right to a public trial and the public has a right to know how genetic information was used in this case. Neither the state nor Mr. Kohberger will be prejudiced by unsealing the briefing and holding the IGG hearing in an open court. The pleadings and hearings should be unsealed. That's what's being discussed in a closed hearing right now. How much of this information we hear on Thursday, or if we hear it at all, remains to be seen. We'll find that out on Thursday.
She'll even if we're not supposed to hear it, she'll slip something in there. She'll slip it in there.
There was another court filing that I found interesting related to.
These are ones that we've already went through, these court filings.
This topic that was actually filed back in 2023. So when all of this evidence was being presented to the defense in discovery, and this part of the IgG DNA data was sealed, the prosecution anticipated that this ask might come down the line, that the defense might want this information to become public. So in anticipation of that, this document kind of goes through the arguments against that ahead of time, almost 2 years later. Now we're just broaching this topic, but this one passage in particular kind of hits the nail on the head as to the prosecution's argument against why this is sensitive data and that it was collected properly. And it goes back to that knife sheath. It says, if you can see it towards the top of your screen, the K-bar knife sheath was abandoned at the scene, as was the DNA inside it. Defendant cannot show that he had a reasonable expectation of privacy in DNA left at the scene of a quadruple homicide, or in the genetic information of his relatives who voluntarily provided their own DNA to a genetic genealogy service, which we've talked a lot about here on Case of Interest, that connection was made because relatives' DNA was available on, we don't know what website, but one of these genealogy websites. So that kind of quashes.
I wonder who the relative was. You know what I mean? Like they got to that relative to get to Michael, like his dad, to get to Brian. So I wonder whose DNA was in the database that kind of sealed his fate in a way. Because if they didn't have that, they would have just had the DNA, but they would have had nothing to match it to. because he wasn't in any criminal databases. He wasn't in CODIS. So, oh man, be careful, I guess, when you sign up for those websites if you don't want your DNA in there.
Is what might be a Fourth Amendment argument that this information shouldn't be involved in the case. So that all remains to be seen. That is going to be discussed in closed court today, and then we might hear some of it
really
on Thursday. That hearing scheduled for Thursday.
I thought that we knew, but I couldn't remember. Which one? Oh gosh, that sucks. That
also
sucks.
have Friday reserved in case it takes so long that they have to go into the next day. We'll be paying attention to all of it, and we'll be.
You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't imagine if I committed a crime and then my brother's DNA is what, like, you know, got me busted almost, pretty much. Well, he got himself busted. He got himself busted, you know. Thank you, SSD, for gifting out 5 memberships. Wow, you guys are so kind tonight. Look at that. Everyone's going to be green in the chat. Make sure you thank her. Everybody's going to be green. No, like, I think he got him from the DNA from the database, and then they matched it to Michael's through the trash, and then went to Brian. Because Brian was putting his trash in the neighbor's trash. Weird. Strange, right? Just gonna put my gloves on, be fully dressed in the middle of the night, shoes and everything. Tennis shoes were on. Like, was he ready to run at any time? Like, I mean, really, because usually in the house you have, I mean, my mom would have been like, you better take your shoes off. But apparently he had his shoes on. He was ready to boot, scoot, and boogie if he had to with his trash. And I wonder how big the trash, like how big the baggies were. Were they like sandwich baggie size or like freezer bag size? I'm just curious about that too. So last night when we were reviewing the Lore Lodge or whatever his name is, we should have just did Idaho. But Vinny Politan came out with a video. It's been like 16 hours ago over Brian Kohberger and the upcoming trial. They're going to discuss the DNA evidence, the connection between the suspect and the victims, if there is a connection, and the connection between him in the home and the crime scene. They're going to talk a little bit about everything in this. So I figured we would watch this. We'll pause it. We'll commentate. I was watching a little bit of it earlier. It was really good. It was really good. So, yeah, we'll play this here. I'll put the link in the chat. This is from Court TV. And then we'll stop and we'll commentate here and there as we go along. Thank you guys all for being here. I do appreciate you guys. If you don't mind, just take a second, hit the like button. It does help the channel grow. If you'd like to become a member, I'll put the link in the membership or the chat, the link for the membership. So we'd love to have you.
I'm Vinny Politan. The subject of my investigation is the Idaho student murders. 4 lives taken, a desperate search for a killer, and now the most anticipated trial on Court TV. Here's the story. Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee were 4 friends living together in an off-campus house at the University of Idaho. They worked hard and were all flourishing as students and having the time of their lives. They were popular and their house was known as a gathering spot for fellow students. All of that tragically changed in the early morning hours of November 13, 2022. Those 4 students were stabbed to death inside their home. The brutal crime shook the community and touched the nation, setting off an intense manhunt for a killer. Students were afraid to be alone on campus. Some never came back. Investigators from the Moscow Police Department joined forces with the Idaho State Police and the FBI, following every lead, every tip, and every piece of evidence. That investigation took them across the country to Pennsylvania and led them to this man, a grad student at a neighboring university in Pullman, Washington. This accused mass killer has denied the allegations and claims to have an alibi. Well, now the case is getting closer to trial, and both sides are battling over the evidence the jury will see and hear. Trials are public, okay? Our courtrooms are public. I think you know that, I know that, we all know that. And during the course of a case, the litigation, the going back and forth, each side filing motions, trying to get the other side to do something, trying to exclude evidence, whatever the motion is, these things are all part of the court docket. And when you have high-profile cases or regular cases, most states around the nation do a really good job these days of putting this stuff online. Idaho is one of those states that is really good at this. They have a high-profile case. They're going to put all of the court filings and everything online. I want you to take a look at that docket right now because you're going to notice something really interesting about it as we watch it. Okay, look really closely. Order to seal, 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 order to seal. They're sealing everything. Not everything, but a lot of things.
We didn't get to know anything. We didn't know nothing.
All of these orders to seal evidence and seal motions and seal documents. They've even closed the courtroom doors to have sealed hearings. Now, Court TV, we cover trials all around the country, primarily murder trials. Everything is serious. Everything is high profile. Mm-hmm. Florida, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Arizona, California, all over the country, Ohio, South Carolina, Florida, and Florida again. So what is happening here? We saw all of these things are sealed, including some of the hearings in a public case in a public trial, which brings me to the first question in my investigation tonight. Why is everything sealed? Is this normal in Idaho? Is this the way?
I think it's because Mr. Goncalves was out there talking a little bit too much. I mean, I ain't saying nothing bad about him. I'm really not. I would be screaming from the rooftops myself. But it seemed like once he had that meltdown, that little meltdown, on Fox News, after that was when I feel like that's when they sealed everything. They're sealed, gagged, everyone's gagged.
Justice is done in Idaho. Is it not as transparent as other states around the nation? Do the people of Idaho and the public not have access to things that are happening inside of their courtrooms?
Well, it's unusual. They don't have access, just like with the Lori Vallow trial. Tape only. Who wants to listen to a trial on tape? I don't. And I followed that case for a long time. Kohberger, you better be on video.
For me. So let's get the inside scoop from two guys who know Idaho law very well. First, the attorney who represented Chad Daybell, John Pryor, is with us. You know him. And trial lawyer and former Idaho Attorney General, Dave Leroy, is with us. Great to see you guys. I'm glad you're here. I started covering trials in Idaho just recently, and it was, some of the other cases involving Lori Daybell. Dave, let me start with you. Is this normal? Is this usual for Idaho to seal a lot of things from the public and including having hearings that are sealed from the public?
Well, as your setup suggested, there's nothing very normal about this particular case. And this is an extraordinary amount of sealing going on. But part of that sealing, I presume, is designed by the court and with the concurrence of the parties or the assertion of one party or another that something about this, if revealed pre-jury trial, may have the tendency to taint an objective jury. Much of that sealing, I presume, Benny, is to keep evidence away from you so that you will not be putting it on the national news as one way or another potentially influencing the case. Sealing in Idaho is done on an ad hoc basis, meaning that each party can make a particular application for a particular and specified reason, often in secret, and the judge makes a decision in their best discretion about what the answer is. But I presume that most of this sealing is designed to minimize pretrial publicity and enhance the possibility of finding swiftly and accurately an objective jury.
So, John Fryer, is this unusual in your practice to have this much stuff shielded from the public, including hearings?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with David. In the general criminal case, general trial, it's highly unusual to have this much sealing. When you're dealing with a case that has a lot of publicity, and this Kohberger case has a tremendous amount of publicity, and in recent years there's been another case or two that had a lot of publicity. The courts are working very hard at protecting not only witnesses but evidence from getting out that might influence people prior to they selecting the jury. And that's a lot of what's going on, is that they're doing this to make sure that both parties have a fair opportunity to get an unbiased jury who haven't been exposed to a lot of the information. And really, that's the predominant reason for it, Vinny.
So, Dave, from my perspective, been with Court TV for a long time, longer than any other person at Court TV, by the way. So, from my perspective, all we do is cover.
You just had to put that in there.
High-profile cases, whether it's a local case that's high-profile or national. Cases like O.J. Simpson, Casey Anthony, Jodi Arias. And inevitably, through the years, these cases are super high profile. People talk about it from the moment the crime occurs, all the way through all the litigation, and then to the trial.
Sure do.
And what I've noticed through the years is that they always get a jury, number one. And number two, the jury bases their verdict on the evidence. Like, why don't we trust that? Why don't we trust that we have voir dire, that we have jurors who listen to the judge's instructions and base it? We've been shocked many times, whether it's guilty or not guilty, by juries based on the evidence.
Well, Vinny, remember, I come from the world of politics where we trust but verify. And that verification is often best done up front rather than at the end of the case. It seems to me that we're in this case where we have already had a change of venue due to what the defense successfully advocated was too much pretrial publicity in a small venue like Moscow, Latah County, Idaho, in North Idaho. Now we're moved 300 miles away to the Boise media area. It's better to be safe than sorry. I understand that trying cases in the media is something that we all are allowed to do as citizens, and it's great TV, as your network has successfully projected over the years. But to the extent that we can upfront protect a objective, unbiased jury in a very sensational case, I think it's not inappropriate to do that. The extent to which we're doing that here in Idaho is overwhelming, as you pointed out. But perhaps there's a reason for that. We simply don't know what's behind those seals. And many of those seals were in that list that you projected also were sealed and redacted. So there is likely to be some kind of public or private protection in addition to the public protection behind those particular orders that also have a redaction.
Yeah, and if it's the safety of someone, I get it. But if it's something else. Now, John, let me read this, because this is from the defendant's motion. And it's,
I guess it would be kind of putting out personal information if they had to put out who they got the DNA from to begin with, and they had to say like Kohberger's sister. That led to his dad, that led, to Kohberger.
It's the defendant's.
But if they had his sister's DNA, wouldn't that come back in the system like as a relative too? Like that would be like a biological sister or whatever to the defendant, or to the person that you're looking for. Like you would think that they would just go straight to Kohberger after that, not his dad. But maybe that's what they were trying to do. They grabbed trash and all they had was Michael's DNA. That could be it. That could be it.
Motion to unseal The suspected killer, by and through his attorneys of record, hereby moves the Honorable Court for an order to unseal the investigative genetic genealogy referred to as Genetic Information, or IgG, suppression briefing and related hearing. Here, the way in which the IgG material is accessed and used is a matter warranting public disclosure and should not be shielded from the public's right to know. So in this scenario, John, it is the accused, right? The one who's always worried about, getting a fair trial, who wants something to be unsealed in public. Like, from where I'm sitting, then there should be no reason for it to be sealed, especially if the defendant himself is saying, hey, let the public see this.
Well, Vinny, in this particular case, that's a pure way of looking at that. I have a suspicion that there may be some issues with the evidence that they're trying to attack on the defense side, and there may be some things that might be either embarrassing or inappropriate, or there's been some tampering, or there's a chain of custody issue. And what the defense is probably trying to do, now I haven't looked at the pleadings and I don't have access, but when the defense tries to unseal and say, no, we need to let the entire public see what happened, that's usually a situation in which the defense is trying to gain some ground by suggesting that maybe what the law enforcement and the police did in this case may have been inappropriate in some way. And that's really a lot of what I think is going on. It's my personal opinion. I don't have access to the pleadings. But
you know why? Because they're sealed. They're
that's
sealed.
right.
They're sealed. All right.
And I'm not a fan of sealing things, and I agree wholeheartedly with David. If I'm understanding him correctly, in that if we're going to have a public trial, let's have a public trial, and let's have an entire public trial.
Yeah.
But again, when there's sensitive information that's dealing with people's lives, and there's things that could be either an embarrassment or cause some anguish towards someone, or bring some attention to someone who's not a principal in this case, I understand limited use of the sealing option.
Gotcha. All right. John and Dave are both going to.
Yeah. I mean, seal the names, redact the names. If you're going to have somebody come in and testify that, and you don't want people to know who they are yet until trial, redact those hearings, seal those hearings, but not everything,
Stick around, or we're going to need your help again. But that motion mentioned this IgG. Coming up next, what is IgG?
I bet you're going to tell us.
If we have a sample and we have a buccal swab, why is all of this other material that you're asking for related to the genetic genealogy so important?
A Ponzi scheme and a deadly poisoning.
I didn't realize they're actually going to
Trace DNA.
I think it's.
And how it all relates to this case. And don't forget, it all comes down to DNA. Because on the knife sheath that has been described just like this one at the crime scene, beneath the victims, on this little snap, see, I got to close the snap. This is where DNA was gathered that they have allegedly connected to the suspect. That's what you have to remember. Take a look at these court documents. These are now from the prosecution. And this was actually, I think, a motion for a protective order. The product of the genealogy conducted by the FBI was family tree that contained the name, birth date, and death date, if applicable, of hundreds of relatives, as well as their familial connections between each other and the suspect, the accused killer. The FBI then sent to local law enforcement, sent a tip to investigate the defendant. The IgG process pointed law enforcement toward the defendant, but it did not provide law enforcement with substantive evidence of guilt. After identification of the defendant, law enforcement recovered trash from the home of the defendant's parents, and the ISP laboratory did STR DNA analysis of items from the trash for comparison to the unknown crime scene DNA. That's what I said, from the snap of the sheath. That comparison indicated the DNA found on the trash belonged to the biological father of the individual who left the DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. Okay, there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how easy or difficult it was to follow. That's why we do the show. Brings us to our next question, because they mentioned the IgG process pointed law enforcement towards the defendant. So here's my question. What is IgG? We got to know what IgG is before we can understand how it pushed them towards the defendant. Joining me, former homicide detective, host of The Interview Room with Chris McDonough. It's Chris McDonough, and top genetic genealogist who's done groundbreaking work in the field that's led to the first convictions and exonerations based on it. CeCe Moore is with us, and that's
she's a genius in the DNA field.
important. DNA goes both ways on this. It can exonerate you, and it can put you behind bars. All right, CeCe, let me begin with you. Simple question, or is it? What is IgG?
IgG stands for Investigative Genetic Genealogy. We sometimes hear it also referred to as Forensic Investigative Genetic Genealogy. And what it is taking DNA from a crime scene or an unidentified human remains sample and reverse engineering their identity from the distant relatives with whom they share DNA in the genetic genealogy databases. And so what we're generally working with are very distant relatives to these unknown suspects. So none of these tend to have close relatives. It's very rare. We're working with second, third, fourth, fifth cousins and beyond. We are looking for commonalities, overlaps, and ultimately common ancestors. So we can piece together their family tree, this unknown suspect's family tree, bit by bit, based on who they're sharing DNA with, then build forward in time and try to find candidates who descend from those common ancestors who were in the right place at the right time, the right gender, the right age range to potentially be the suspect.
Okay, so just for reviewing, you get the DNA from here, you don't know who it is. So now we go and we do this IgG. You say you're looking for ancestors. You're looking where for these ancestors?
So we have to analyze that DNA evidence from scratch because it's very different than what the crime labs do. We have to create what's called a SNP profile, which is different than the STR genetic markers that they use for evidence in court that the crime labs create. This profile will have hundreds of thousands of genetic markers of this unknown suspect across his genome, and it is then uploaded into genetic genealogy databases. However, even though over 50 million people have taken direct-to-consumer DNA tests, we are barred from using the largest databases. So we are limited to the databases that are willing to work with law enforcement. And those are the two smallest ones, GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA. So that genetic profile is uploaded there and compared against a couple million people who have opted into allowing law enforcement to compare. However, there is one more database that is vulnerable to law enforcement use, although their terms of service bar it. And that is a company called MyHeritage that is based in Israel. So that one has been used in some cases. And I suspect that may be one of the things that the prosecution would rather stay private. It's been ruled to not be illegal in other cases. It is against terms of service, though, and it might look bad to the public. So they might be wanting to unseal that to get public opinion behind them.
How would it be against terms of service, though, if they're allowing it? I don't know.
All right, weird. Chris McDonough.
He knows what she's talking about.
I'm starting to really understand this, but this is important stuff. This is a way to find people that you may not otherwise be able to find.
Yeah, absolutely, Vinny. And I think what the defense is doing here is looking for that aha moment, right? I mean, if it is, let's say it is from MyHeritage database, they're looking for that impact into the public, court of public opinion to say, hey, wait a minute, the cops did something wrong here. Whereas if you do a comparison, it's no different than, pulling off a bunch of photographs and put them into a photographic lineup. and showing a witness. Because at some point you have to get a warrant to substantiate and tie that suspect.
I mean, they could have done that. They probably did do that. They probably put him in a lineup with the mask on, like maybe they had like a covering on him, and then maybe one without, and they probably showed Dylan, and they probably said, is one of these the guy? I mean, but either way, I mean, I know that they had to have done that because she's an eyewitness, but that's how they could have got to Kohberger. They could have got to him that way.
Together to that DNA.
So Cece, the use of this genealogy of whether you're exonerating or, looking for a killer on a hot case, an unsolved case like this, it's the way they describe it is pointing it in the direction. We only have like 20 seconds here, but you usually can't identify the actual person, but you find people that are somehow in their sphere.
Well, actually, pretty often we can point at one person or an immediate family, a set of siblings. It just depends how much data you have to work with. However, it is only used as a tip. It should not be used for the basis of arrest or to compel DNA, which is what the prosecution's argument is they didn't use it as evidence to arrest him or to take this to trial.
It's a piece used to get to the next stage. Okay, CeCe Moore, thank you so much. Chris McDonough is going to stick around. Up next, folks.
I still get confused about that part a little.
How did they identify the suspect?
Ooh, I'd love to know.
Come.
I'm Benny Politan. We continue our investigation of the Idaho student murders. It's a case that captivated the nation when there was a search for a mass killer. And now the nation is bracing for the biggest trial of 2025. Here's the story. 4 students were brutally murdered in their home near the University of Idaho. Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana were great people with amazing futures that were taken away by a monster. The man accused of this horrific crime has denied doing it and has proclaimed his innocence. There is no eyewitness, no confession, and no direct evidence. It's a prosecution built on circumstantial evidence, which prosecutors believe is compelling, including DNA found at the scene of the murder on a knife sheath. Now, both sides are battling in the courtroom as the countdown to this 2025 trial continues. Now, a lot of things are sealed in this case. There's a gag order. There's limited access to some of the courtroom proceedings, but when he was first arrested, there was the affidavit, the arrest affidavit that provided a lot of information. Did it provide all the information? I'm not sure, but it provided a lot of information. So I want to go through some key parts of this because I think they're really significant in what we are investigating tonight. We begin with a review of footage from multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. After reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could also be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Right? So your first big piece of evidence in this case was, as we knew, were these videos, surveillance videos of this white Elantra. And that became, we're looking for the owner, the driver of this white Elantra. Then we read this on November 29th of 2022 at approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University police officer Danielle Tiengo queried white Elantras registered at Washington State University. Now, WSU is just a few miles away. It's across the state line, but it's close to Moscow, Idaho. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate, LFZ 8649. The vehicle was registered to the accused killer, okay? So when I heard that, to me, it was like, okay, so this is how they figured it all out, right? They figured it out because of this officer decides to take a look at what's happening in his university where he's an officer, Washington State University. Now, more from the affidavit. Law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cellular towers in close proximity to the King Road residence on November 13th, 2022, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. This is the time of the quadruple murder. After determining that the suspect was associated to both the 2015 white Elantra and the 8458 phone, investigators reviewed the search warrant returns. A query of the 8458 phone in these returns did not show the 8458 phone utilizing cell tower resources in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 and 5. There were no hits between 3 and 5. Based on my training, individuals can either leave their cellular telephone at a different location before committing a crime or turn their cellular telephone off prior to going to a location to commit a crime. So they didn't get the hits of his phone there, but the explanation is, well, maybe he turned it off. So this brings me to the next question in my investigation, which is an important one. And I think we've really got to zero in on it. How did they identify their suspect? How did they land on him? What was the piece of information that led them to him? Or did they put information together to get him? How exactly did they do it? Do we have a clear idea of that? Joining us, Chris McDonough, the interview room with Chris McDonough, and retired FBI special agent and expert in criminal investigations, Bobby Chacon. Great to see you both. Now, I want to read a couple of excerpts from a Slate article entitled "How Police Actually Cracked the Idaho Killings Case." According to a law enforcement source familiar with the investigation with whom I spoke, a key reason police focused on this suspect as a likely suspect has to do with something that is never mentioned in the 18-page affidavit that I've just been reading from: forensic genealogy. It was only after investigators utilized a technique reliant on genealogy databases to determine who'd left DNA on a tan leather knife sheath that police requested a search warrant for the accused killer's phone records, according to this source. Up until that point in late December, he hadn't stood out among all the other Elantra owners, the source said, something that is reinforced by a close, informed reading of the affidavit. So,
I thought a cop had seen his car and then ran the tags.
Bobby Chacon, I'll begin with you.
Yeah, Bobby
It seems to me that when we all read that affidavit, there was something to read between the lines. And now this has become a big issue in court, which is about this IGG investigative genealogy that is a part of the case. Is that really the key to how they were able to narrow things down and get it to the point where they could go to a judge and get a warrant so they could get his phone records and continue their investigation to identify him as the suspect here?
Yeah, Vinny, I know that IGG is the big sexy thing now, and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. And I actually am maybe I'm the minority here, but I don't think it is in this case. I think it helped. I think it was I don't think it was the linchpin. I think they were onto this guy. Remember what's not said in this affidavit, which the police did know at this time, is they had already interviewed an eyewitness that saw the suspect leaving the house. They kept that really under wraps. They kept her description of this guy, how tall he was, the bushy eyebrows, all of that was kept really under wraps for a good reason. So they were doing really good police work, narrowing it.
We got that in the PCA. They arrested him. We got the PCA like the next day. What's Bobby Chacon talking about?
Down, get your pool of suspects, Elantra owners in the area, phone records. They were doing the standard stuff that you do in every case. Now, IGG does help. It helps narrow down your suspect pool. It doesn't give you the suspect. It helps you narrow it down, and then it helps you get to the suspect that then you can obtain a DNA they did a cheek swab eventually and compare it directly to the knife sheath. And then you have the, what I call the 100% match, 5.3 cotillion or whatever it is, octillion. So I think that they did the normal police work. You read the affidavit. I think they would have gotten the warrants without IGG in this case. They would have gotten the warrants for his phone and things like that. I think that it was a big help, but I don't think this case doesn't get made without IGG.
Chris McDonough.
Do you think he told his dad what happened on the way home? Like, hey, Dad, I messed up. I did something. I don't see him. I don't see him saying a word. I don't see him saying anything. I see him acting like nothing happened. But I mean, look at him right now, looking at his dad. Oh, look at that look. He's like, you better tell him we're going to a Thai restaurant. That look at that look. Oh man, that's the look of. I'm sorry, but that's the look. That's an evil look right there, Kohberger. What's up with his sleeves always being rolled up like that, or like pushed up like that? He did that with the white sleeves too in court.
So they don't mention the IGG, but it's clearly a part of the case because now there's a motion related to the IGG. A lot of things have been sealed, like we said. Defense wants to unseal it. So do you think they could have gotten to this suspect without the IGG? Was there still enough there? Did this just make it quicker? Because there's a couple steps in the process, right? The IGG gets them quicker to the suspect, but there's still not enough for an arrest. They go to the house in Pennsylvania. They get the father's DNA from the garbage. Still not, it's enough for an arrest, but then it's not the positive match until they swab him. So it's like a three-step process with the DNA here. What are your thoughts on the role of the IGG, and was that the linchpin? Bobby doesn't think so. What do you think?
I agree with Bobby. I mean, and just to dovetail into the thought process there, remember when this thing first goes down, there is a massive amount of resources on the ground. And so in any investigation like this, you're going to have a team inside the house. You're going to have a team outside of the house doing like a canvassing, trying to pull video, et cetera, and interviewing witnesses in relationship to neighbors that they hear or see, anything like that. So we don't know just yet how much amount of information they had from the get-go. And when the IGG information shows up, that's kind of like a bonus, right? I mean, that officer that went back and started querying the cars through, the university there and came up with a similar Elantra, well, then you can just pick up the phone and call the FBI, and right away, if you have them on the scene, you got a direct source going there, and that information can accelerate pretty rapidly.
All right, so let's talk about this for a second, Bobby, because the way they're using the IGG is it's not evidence, it's not something that should be used as probable cause for an arrest, but they treat it as a tip. And I've seen people talk about it almost like an anonymous tip, and law enforcement doesn't like to mention it. And I think that's what happened in this case, because it's not in the arrest affidavit. There's no mention of it, and you don't have to mention everything there, but it seems like it played a role here, yet law enforcement doesn't necessarily want that to be part of the record. Why is that, Bobby? Why do you think that is?
I don't know why it is. My guess is, and just to be clear, IGG has a really big role in some cases, and some cases it's the only thing that leads you to the suspect. So it's very valuable. This is a new area of DNA investigations. It's very valuable. I just happen to think in this particular case, they had the Elantra, they had a Washington State University student registered to a white Elantra that seat. So they were on their way to identifying him. In this case, IGG was kind of a very big help, but it wasn't everything in this case. In some cases it is. I think they don't want to mention the IGG stuff because remember where it all comes from. It comes from a voluntary database that, Cece mentioned earlier that, not all people dedicate their DNA to this. And the biggest services like the one I'm in, one of the bigger ones, doesn't allow law enforcement to query it. So, when you're dealing, you don't want to you don't want to make people hesitant to give their DNA into these programs and into these companies because they sensationalize it. And they say, oh, the law enforcement's looking at all these people in these databases, and then you get, as a business owner, you wouldn't want that to happen either. You don't want people hesitant to put in. And so I think like it's a quiet, kind of tool they pull off the shelf that they can use. Find the suspect and then put it back, and then not tell anybody. Not that they don't tell anybody, they just don't want it like all that publicized because they don't want people pulling back from participating in that.
Yeah, the next show I want to do is Bobby Chacon. I want to know where your ancestry goes to, because I think that would be really interesting. Chris McDonough, thanks for all your help. Bobby Chacon, thank you as well. Great to see you both. Still to come, what happens if the defense is successful and the DNA is suppressed?
Law enforcement may or may not have used databases that they had the right to access.
She's a small lady, I think. Oh, I don't think it has.
Want answers? People started locking them.
We don't want to listen to the commercial.
Critical piece of information that you learned today, Judge, is that law enforcement may or may not have used databases that they had the right to access. We don't know.
So this is where the defense appears to be going when it comes to the DNA, is that they're saying they may have used data that they're not permitted to use to tie this defendant and to arrest this defendant and to tie him to the knife sheath, the DNA that was found on the snap on the knife sheath. They may have used data that they weren't supposed to use. They want it all revealed. And ultimately what they want is they want the DNA suppressed.
And the DNA was found on the inside of the button snap. He keeps pointing to the outside.
Not admissible, which brings us to the next question in our investigation, which is, what happens if the DNA is suppressed? What if the defense is successful in one of their motions to keep the DNA from being a part of the trial, to keep the DNA away from the jury? Join me, two guys who know Idaho law very, very, very well. The attorney represented Chad Daybell, John Pryor, and trial lawyer and former Idaho Attorney General Dave Leroy. All right, John, what's your analysis of this case if, in fact, the DNA is gone and they can't connect the suspected killer to this knife sheath that was found at the crime scene?
Well, I think, Vinny, what they're talking about is the IgG evidence and excluding that in terms of the databases that they used. And in that case, that's just that evidence is really evidence of exclusion. What they're trying to do is pull away as many people as they can from that to do that. If it's excluded, it's a part. I mean, the defense is doing it because it's just one more piece that they can not have to worry about or address that might implicate their client. If we're talking about the blood evidence, I think that's huge. I think it's a huge issue if the blood evidence is excluded.
There's no blood evidence.
So, Dave Leroy, if you can't connect.
What did we just hear? What? Who said anything about blood evidence?
That's the defense has many databases that they used, and in that case, that's just that evidence is really evidence of exclusion. What they're trying to do is pull away as many people as they can from that to do that. If it's excluded, it's a part. I mean, the defense is doing it because it's just one more piece that they can not have to worry about or address that might implicate their client. If we're talking about the blood evidence, I think that's huge.
What blood evidence? What blood evidence? I swear, y'all, I'm so glad I know cases. And when I play these tapes, like these videos for you guys, I'm so glad that I can stop it and be like, wait a minute here. Because old Vinny Politan ain't chiming in like, beep, beep, beep. There's no blood evidence, buddy. We're talking about touch DNA. Is there something y'all know that we don't know? I mean, I doubt it.
I think it's a huge issue if the blood evidence is excluded.
So, Dave Leroy, if you can't,
where is Vinny Politan saying that's not, there's no blood evidence.
Can't connect the defendant to something that was found at the crime scene in this case, which was the knife sheath. If you can't make that direct connection, if you are somehow denied the ability to do that by some of this pretrial litigation, a lot of which is under seal, how strong is this prosecution case? How difficult will it be to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt?
Well, this case is still provable beyond a reasonable doubt, but the most significant evidence in the case is the knife sheath, which was not only evident with the DNA, but it was found under the body of one of the victims and under.
It was actually found beside Maddie Mogen. We read the PCA the other night. It wasn't under her. I thought it was under her too. It was beside her. I'm gonna bring up the PCA.
A cover that was adjacent to her body. Therefore, it was probably left when it was covered up at the scene to tie any individual to that scene. And that particular knife sheath is the most singular significant piece of evidence in the case. If that should be lost, and I don't think it will be at the trial level, if that should be lost, then it still is a circumstantial case that I think the prosecutor can prove. But the whole effort here, I believe, is not to win a trial, but it's to create a brand new constitutional.
Okay, I found it already. Share here. Okay. As I entered the bedroom, I could see two females in a single bed in the room. Both Goncalves and Mogen were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogen's right side. Remember the other night I even showed you where it would be? That'd be a spot where he would lay it down. Yeah, when viewed from the door. So, Vinny, we're going to have a talk.
All right, to a privacy protection under the U.S. Constitution for the GNA of third parties, including relatives. If you can argue that you somehow have a privacy interest in that, and you can therefore independently suppress that kind of evidence at a trial, then they've created a whole new area of constitutional law. That's where we're headed with these arguments. I don't expect an Idaho judge at the trial level to buy into that. I wouldn't expect the Idaho Supreme Court to find that to be valid, but it will be presented one day, I presume, should a conviction be had in this case, to the United States Supreme Court. That's where they want to head. This case is capable of conviction without the evidence, but that's the reason we're having such a fight about the knife sheath. It weakens the prosecution case if it's lost, and if it stays in, it creates an argument against the United States Constitution.
So what would be the impact here, John, potentially, if the defense is right in their assertion that the data that they accessed, they're not entitled to access? They somehow.
Well, I agree with David. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, if they were able to access something that they weren't supposed to access, so what's the impact of that? Is there an impact on this case?
Well, the impact is that evidence, if they used an inappropriate or were inappropriate in accessing a website, the evidence is excluded. I agree with David, this is still a circumstantial case, but obviously if DNA or IgG evidence is excluded because inappropriate actions by law enforcement or others, it makes their case a little harder. And I agree with David as well that it also sets it up not only for an appealable issue that could go on for years, but also setting up the possibility that a higher court would at some point adopt a situation where you're invading people's privacy. And I wholeheartedly agree with what David's assertion there.
So looking at how this case was investigated, and I think
tap me in, Vinny. Tap me in. You know, like tap me in. I'm ready. Look, I got a great background. You know, I mean, I could dress up if I need to. I'm a little dressed up tonight. Got a little necklace on with a little feather and little feather earrings. Come on, tap me in. I know these two guys, I know more than them.
Understand it, despite all the things that are sealed. And what the assertion is that they used all these different pieces, but one of the pieces they used to get to the next step, to get the next piece, was this IgG. So if the IgG gets thrown out, do we get into the world, and I'm going to say it, I know it's from law school, but it's for real. We only have a couple seconds here. Is this, and just a yes or no, is it potentially fruit of the poisonous tree that everything that followed must get thrown out, which could throw out the arrest, the probable cause here? Is it? Just give me a yes or no, because we're really short on time. David, you first.
You get an A on the bar exam. The fruit of the poisonous tree will be exactly what the defense argues here, to throw out the DNA if there is a constitutional right of privacy in someone else's DNA.
All right, we're out of time for tonight, but you know I'm going to be calling on both of you throughout this case. So don't make any plans for late summer, early fall. John Pryor, Dave Leroy, thanks so much. Pretrial litigation is important. This is the time when the judge makes crucial calls and decisions on what the trial will look like and what evidence the jury will see. But pretrial hearings are no different than a trial. It's all public. It's a public trial in a public courtroom. There should be no secrets unless it would endanger someone's life. The evidence in the arguments should be unsealed and revealed to the public, just like our founding fathers envisioned. I'm Vinny Politan. We'll keep digging for.
Okay, Vinny. Am I okay? I was making sure I wasn't muted. My background is so dark now. I don't know if I like it. Because I took that lamp out because the candles. I don't like the lamp on with the candles. You know, I mean, and the candles are black. I don't know. You guys will have to let me decide. I'm gonna have to let you guys decide what I should do with this room. I thought about like even putting the chair in the middle and doing more of like a podcast behind me, like, and having a microphone set up. That way, if I ever did like do an interview that was in home or in, here in my house, I would have like a setup. I think that would be pretty cool. Because we're going to be doing some stuff for the channel. We're going to be changing some things and doing in some stuff right. Yeah, bring me in. Tap me in, coach. I'm ready. We've been messing with this case for what? Over 2 years. I can't believe it's been that long. I cannot believe it's been that long. Really. Just think about Sebastian's case is going on a year next month. Already a year. It's craziness. I was looking to see if there's anything on Twitter for Brian Kohberger, but there's not. As far as I can see. Oh, what's this? Oh, man. Ellen Greenberg's case has been moved to inactive status. I don't know. This is crazy. This is all kind of, what? Who the hell is this guy? This ain't Brian Kohberger? Hold on. Am I losing my mind? DNA recovered through the trash of Brian Kohberger, which matched his father. We assume they tested all the trash and recovered both mother and father. Genetically, a person actually carries more of his or her mother's genes than her father's. Well, we'll have to look that up. Why exclude his mother's DNA, which is a more reliable comparison for familial match? Who is his mother? And then they have this picture posted. And I'm like, who the hell? I don't know who this is, but this isn't Brian Kohberger. And someone said, is this AI? AI has hit mainstream. Oh my gosh. Looks like Seth Rogen after the weight loss, and your profile pic with no filter. Are you baby's mama? What? Who is this lady? She must not really be into it. Well, no, she got this. This is insanity. This is AI generated, I guess. Good thing it is AI generated. If it was if this was just some guy, he would look just like Brian Kohberger. But I think that's hilarious. That's insanity to me. What is this? Oh, my whole page is just full of like Sebastian bullcrap and the president. Let's see, anything else? It doesn't look like it. It literally looks like presidential stuff in, oh, we got some snow. Okay. Yeah, there's not much. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's cute. Maybe I'll find something cute for us. Let's see. Anything cute? There's a snowball fight on Bourbon Street in New Orleans right now. Those guys probably hadn't seen snow in forever. Like, they probably haven't. Look at this. Even the dog's playing. That's cute. That's adorable. It's so crazy because, hey, have a good night, Walt. Like these people they don't get snow. They don't see snow. It's so strange to me. I mean, even Vincent, like the other night, he was building a snowman on our back deck. He's like, I don't think I've ever built one. He's like, maybe when I was like really, really little and I don't remember. He's like, he said he does remember having a snowball fight though. So, and he must have went somewhere like when he went to Canada or something, because he's from California. They don't get snow where he lives. He lives outside of LA. I mean, they would get a fire, but they don't get no snow. We aren't okay. They look like they're having the time of their life. You guys are probably like, oh my God, the snow. I bet you guys are like, they're driving. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine you guys driving in it. And we aren't okay. That's kind of funny just because, you guys aren't used to it. It probably won't last too long. Play in it, have fun, while you can. It's icing tonight. Wow. You're on a curfew? They put you guys on a curfew for some snow? Wow. Up in Ohio, it's just another day. But when we got this snow that we got now, we were on a level 2. I was like, wow, it does take a lot to get us up there. So. What is it? She did not do herself in. What happened? What ladybug? Yeah. Snow is crazy and cold. A snow curfew. Yeah, driving was easy. Got 2 inches. Yeah, they usually plow them here. But I'm going to jump off of here. I'm going to get some rest. I'm exhausted from earlier. But I wanted to show you guys something actually before I jump off of here. I did receive my prosthetic today. So I'm going to show you my prosthetic. It's my eye. It won't give you the willies, I don't think. But I was going to show it to you guys so you guys can see what it looked like. Actually, let me show you my first one because it's really like faded and it looks like really weird. So this is the first one. Like it looks really, really weird. It's really faded, but you can see like my name's at the top with like my initials and then the date. So I got this May 2014. This one is my second. I don't know if I can really get up in the camera to show y'all, but that's my second. I never thought I would ever be confident enough to do that. But that's Vincent for you. He makes me confident. And then this one's my newest one. And I have to wash it before I put it in anyway, so I can hold it. But that's my new one. And it looks more veiny. Oh, I can't. Oh, yeah. Full screen. Let me give it to you full screen. Okay. So this one's the first one. Sorry. First one. This one is like really like it's just fading because, and they said they didn't think their eyes did that. They were very surprised. So they told me to put this one in like a solution. So I got saline solution to put it in. And then this is my new one. And it just looks a little different than the one in my eye right now. Like this one's fake. These, I got like all kinds now. Got all kinds. But I'm super excited to put this in and try it because it was thinner. It seemed like it was like not as heavy, like on my face. That's hard to explain, but I don't know. It didn't feel like there was a ball in there. It feels like there's like a ball in there right now. So Mike, it's so funny because my friend was like, they did put more veins in it. Oh my God, they did. They did. Oh my God. Oh my God. The difference. Oh my gosh. In the first and then the last one. Y'all, was I stoned? Was I stoned? That's so funny. Guess I just gotta keep smoking. But no, I have to put that one in this one in some solution whenever I do. But it's so funny, Mike, because my friend that took me when I got my first eye, when he took me up there to get it, because I didn't have an eye for 4 months. Like it was sutured shut. It was bad. And my friend Bill, he's older than me. He was my dad's age. So he's my dad's age. He would have been like he's in his 60s now. But I love Bill. And Bill came with me and he was like, you need to get one. Because this back when I drank, he's like, you need to get one with like bloodshot. Like that's like all bloodshot so that it'll match your eyes when you go to the bar. And the guy heard him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, that's embarrassing. Thank you, Tempest. I'll have to show you a picture. I'll have to show it to you guys on one of our lives. When I first got my eye, the construction or whatever you want to call it that happened on my face, it looks a lot different through the years. So I'm extremely lucky. I'm so excited to put it in and feel a little more comfortable. Vincent's going to put it in for me. He's amazing. Who would want to do that? Seriously, I don't even want to do it. And it's my eye, but he's going to do it for me. Maybe he'll do it tonight if he's awake. So I'm going to jump off here. Maybe if he's awake, he could do that. I can wash my face and he'll do it for me. But I will see you guys all tomorrow. I might do a live on the second channel. If I do, it's Unfiltered with Tanya. If you'd like to join us, we do live vlogs over there. We talk just about about everything, anything and everything. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed over here. If you don't mind hitting the like button, that would be really great for the channel. It does help the algorithm and it helps me personally out. And it's free to do. So whether you like the video or not, hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs down. Just let me know. I need the interaction. Leave a comment if you're watching on replay. I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys tonight and I really appreciate you guys being here. So, we'll be back with some more Idaho coverage. We're going to be starting on, the suspect and stuff because we just finished the house. We're going to be doing the full timeline, like text messages that were sent, what time, what they said, all of it. All of it. There's so much stuff. So I will be back tomorrow and I will see you guys all then. Have a good night and be safe and stay warm. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up. just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop.